One of the more high-profile secretaries in the British government, Amber Rudd, who you see here, abruptly resigned from the cabinet and the Conservative Party on Saturday. Rudd said she no longer believed Prime Minister Boris Johnson was committed to a Brexit agreement with the EU. And she was angry he purged 21 members of parliament from the Conservative Party when they voted against a, quote, no-deal Brexit. Let's go live to our London bureau. Salma Abdelaziz is on this story. And Salma, this was a major blow to Boris Johnson for sure. And this week he may be forced by law to do something he has sworn to the death he would not do, to carry out Brexit at any cost, including a no deal. So that may be a no-go for Bojo. Walk us through it.
That's right, George. I mean, it was an absolutely terrible first week in Parliament for the Prime Minister. He lost a series of votes. He lost his bid to call for a snap election, something he was desperate to have happen. He lost his majority when one of his MPs defected. He lost his own brother, who resigned, saying that he was torn between family loyalty and national interest. And really, the nail in the coffin was this law that's set to go into effect on Monday. It would legally require the Prime Minister to either get a new deal through Parliament by October the 19th, or he has to go back to the EU and ask for a 3-month extension. If the EU agrees, that would take the new Brexit date to January of next year. Now, the Prime Minister has said he would rather die in a ditch than ask for an extension. So that seems like it would be off the table, but the reality is he has few other options. He could resign, but that's something he's also said he's not willing to do. He could go for the nuclear option, which is to call a no-confidence motion on his own government. But that also does not guarantee him an election. And ultimately, he could do what he's kind of hinted that he might do, which is to break the law, to refuse to abide by the legislation. But if he does that, we could see the Prime Minister of this country wind up in court, George.
So they were the cybersecurity analysts that work for Google, and they posted today, which is how it's all come to light, but they actually discovered this vulnerability back at the beginning of the year. They told Apple on February the 1st, and by 6 days later, Apple had updated their software to fix it. Now, it's interesting because it's not the phones themselves that were hacked as such. It's websites, unnamed websites that receive thousands of visitors every week. And when an iPhone that was vulnerable visited that website, essentially some sort of security implant could be implanted onto it by a hacker who could then access, and there's a long list, your contacts, your photos, your location, data from apps like iMessage, WhatsApp, Telegram, Gmail, Google Hangouts. And Google says that the group that were behind this were there for about 2 years, a minimum of 2 years, they believe. And we just don't know what the scope of it is at this stage. But what's quite scary is how we're only finding about it now. And what we don't know, and there are so many questions, and we haven't heard back today from Apple or Google, is, you know, was the data actually successfully stolen? If it was, what has it been used for? Is it still out there? Who was impacted? Was I hacked? You know, what were the websites? They're unnamed. We just simply don't know. All we can tell people at the moment is to make sure that your iPhone software is always up to date, because Apple continually finds these security flaws. They patch them up. They put a new update out. This one was patched up in February. That was iOS 12.1.4. Right now, you should be streets ahead of that. If you go to your iPhone, go to your settings, go to General, About My iPhone, you should currently be on 12.4.1. What is so important to remember is we don't know what the security flaws are right now. They are continually being patched up. You don't want to find out months down the line that potentially your iPhone has been hacked because you didn't keep it up to date.
3, 2, 1, 0.
इस समय आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख रहे हैं 2 S200 रॉकेट
Plus 5 seconds.
दोनों का प्रज्वलन हो गया है और उसने 640 टन वाले मार्क 3 रॉकेट नौगन को ऊपर की ओर लेके जा रहे हैं.
We have a liftoff. We have a liftoff. A perfectly normal liftoff. S200.